What's up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be doing a bike walk around featuring our 2019 Harley-Davidson Softail Lowrider FXLR. We are currently sitting at 46,000 miles with our 2019 Harley-Davidson FXLR. Those are all the miles that we have put on it since getting it October of 2018. Prior to that, we had a 2016 Dyna Street Bob, which we thought was going to be our tried and true forever bike, and then we rode one of these from the dealership that was set up with T-bars, and man, did we fall in love. We have done quite the customization to it. Not everything is plug and play. The main things that are going to be different is going to be our wheel setup. We did have to do some modification to the front wheel as well as some frame modification for our swing arm in order to fit our custom length 14.5 Russ Warnemont monoshock. Just a heads up that if your dealership is one to void warranty for any little thing, you probably just want to go ahead and skip onto another video because a lot of this stuff will do just that. Starting with the most noticeable and most significant ones, it's going to be our rear suspension. That's going to be the custom length 14.5-inch Russ Warnemont design. As we stated earlier, you do need some modification to the swing arm. Basically just shave part of your frame and then a swing arm stop in order to get that length so up high. A lot of people have questions regarding how does it ride? Do you have any wobble? We haven't had any issues since doing it. The biggest issue that we had was going to be that our chain kept on getting some slack in it. We would tighten it to spec, and then after a short ride of about 100 miles, we would see that our chain slack had increased significantly. But after some research, we went ahead and realized that it was our chain tensioner bolts that were backing out. You see a little bit of slop in there. We put some red Loctite recently, and we have since gotten some new bolts. We just have yet to replace them. And once we put red Loctite on those axle adjuster bolts, that seemed to have stopped the issue with our chain slack getting looser as we rode. And then the next major upgrade that we have with our motorcycle is going to be that whole front end. It is dialed, and man, does it ride freaking amazing. Starting with the wheels, we have matching 17-inch Lindell brake wheels, both front and rear. Those are 17-inch in overall diameter, and we have them paired with a set of dual 13-inch B52 smooth circle rotors from Lindell Brakes, laced up with Metzeler Racetech RR K3 tires. We ran the Metzeler Cruise Techs prior, and we really enjoyed them. Did not make a 17-inch front tire in the Cruise Tech, and we decided to stick with Metzeler, and we checked out the Racetech RRs, and we really enjoyed them since having run them. As we stated earlier, we did have to do some modification to our front wheel because the wheels are for an FXLR S, which means that it is a much wider hub than what the FXLR and the FXBBs have. And many of y'all know that if you try to get an FXLRS OEM mag wheel, it will not fit your motorcycle and you will not be able to run them. But thankful to the guys at MCNC, Juan, Matt, and Oscar for helping us out, that we ended up milling some of the center hubs because that is a 3-piece wheel. So the side hubs, we ended up removing them and we had them shaved down so much of a fraction of an inch. Thanks to Chico for doing the math. We were able to get them to fit. Moving just up north, we have a faux carbon fiber front fender for a BMW S1000 double RR. This is just plastic that has been hydro dipped with the carbon fiber. We didn't necessarily need real carbon fiber, and we just wanted the look of it, and we really enjoyed it. And then that front wheel combo is all held together with our 2017 M8 Touring fork lowers. The reason we went with these M8 Touring fork lowers is because at the time we were able to find them all over eBay, Facebook Marketplace. Everyone had them for about $100. The most expensive that we saw was $200. Versus if you were going to try to find a set for a Dyna Lowrider S to make a true dual disc setup up front, you're going to be paying about $500, $600 for everything. Where we got the fork lowers, the new axle, as well as new spacers at the cost of what it would have been had we gone with the Dyna Lowrider S fork lowers. For our fork tubes, we are running the Pro 1 Performance titanium nitride. These are going to be +4, but that is because our wheels, we went down 2 inches. So overall, we're running a +2-inch setup for our bike setup. Now, having gone with such a longer fork tube, we did bring our rake out just a little bit, but it had no effect on handling whatsoever. For our front suspension internals, we have GP suspension cartridges. They're going to be for +4. The fork tubes that we had to pair up properly since we were running +4. Now, finishing up our front wheel setup, we have a set of TTI Twisted T Industries that's going to be here in Round Rock, Texas. radial caliper bracket mounts, which houses our radial brackets that we picked up off of a YZF R6. Again, this is from eBay. We got this set for about $75 to $80, not including shipping, and they handle greatly. Now, for the Twisted Tea Industries radial caliper bracket mount, man, that's a mouthful. They are currently only making them for 13-inch rotors. They, at some point in the future, will be making them for 11.5, 11.8-inch rotors. But at the time, this time only, they're only making it for 13-inch rotors. Before moving on towards the back, we do our lighting setup. We get tons of questions on this, that both the ones on our fork tubes as well as the ones on our crash bar, both are from Kuriak, and they are both the 750L driving light models, but one is set in a spot and then the ones on the crash bar are set in the flood. The difference between the colors, as well as the one here, the Amazon small LED bar, they all came in white, but we went ahead and removed this lens cap cover. We got to the lenses. We also purchased some yellow headlight film, covered them. We put 2 pieces on here, and I believe 2 pieces on here as well. One just leaves it a little bit of an off yellow, still somewhat white, so we went 2 shades, and it was the perfect amount of yellow that we wanted. Going just slightly up north, we have our Lowrider Industries Moto Illumination headlight. It is extremely bright. Our high beam does not work. We have a short in it that the wire keeps on coming unplugged from our installation, and that is the reasoning why we went with this small LED floodlight. So when our high beam turns on, this is actually what turns on and not the center bulb of the Lowrider Moto Illumination headlight. This zip tie, we get a couple questions on it, what the zip tie means, what it does, if there's any purpose behind it. It's basically just to measure our compression, that whenever we depress the front brake and our forks compress, this will show me how much compression I have. If it's way up here, that means it's too soft. If it's way down here after mashing through canyons, it's way too stiff. And usually it ends up being right there, which is a solid amount. We had it professionally measured and checked by Roger Albert of On-Road Off-Road Suspension while we were at a track day. The fairing that we have up here is going to be the Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing in 15-inch option. This is the smoked version. We've had this since we had our Dyna. It's running on 80,000 miles. We did have it paint matched along with our battery covers to paint match our Twisted Cherry OEM color from Harley-Davidson. And then tying up the brakes is going to be our master cylinder. This is a little bit of a custom aftermarket piece that you may not need, but it definitely dials in your front brakes just that much more. Since we were running track days with our Harley-Davidson, we were coming a little bit too spicy. I felt like the brakes were lacking somewhat with the OEM setup. That I really enjoyed the Brembo RCS 19. In order to run this street legally, you are going to have to either piggyback into your right-hand control housing for your brake system, or you can just hardwire it into it like we did. Now what that does, it's going to be very difficult to see. You have a pressure sensor or pressure switch here that normally whenever you depress your OEM brake lever, it's going to release this trigger, engaging your brake light, and then when you let go of your brake lever, it's going to depress that, disengaging your brake light. This is going to be a little bit more in tune. That we did it ourselves, but it may not be clean, so it just depends on how exactly you want to go about this. But we have the wiring for the RCS 19. You are going to need this additionally, that we've included the link below if you want to get this. Essentially, it's going to be a 110A switch open, which is the reverse of what Brembo offers you. And you're just going to hardwire into here. We opened our right-hand control housing where the pressure switch is. We pulled it out, we cut it, and we wired the wiring system from Curvy Girl, and that's what it is. So this is going to be our brake reservoir. We are running Motul 660. The cool thing about these Brembo RCS 19, before getting too in depth, that behind this little plunger, you see this 20 and the 18. These are going to be the settings, the 20 and the 18. With the 20, it's essentially just a quick grab, immediate response. The 18 has a little bit more give to it, where the lever itself presses back a little bit farther, and it gives you a little bit more of a smooth feel for that dialability when you're either crushing down canyons or going down the track. For our cockpit area, we did a gauge relocation. These block-off pucks are from Hardcase Performance, and then we moved our gauges up here to our handlebars. They're extremely convenient when you're riding down the road for long road trips. You don't have to look down at your gauges, what gear you're in or what your speed at, what your RPMs are at, and I really like being able to see them here where it's less effort. For the housing themselves, it's going to be from Drag Specialties. This is a dual gauge instrument cluster pod. You can find it online anywhere. You just basically look Drag Specialties gauge housing or gauge pods, and then we just have them mounted onto our Biltwell risers. That these are going to be the Biltwell 8-inch Murdoch risers. They're going to be the pullbacks pieced together with a set of Biltwell mid-rise tracker bars, and I've enjoyed the comfortability of them, the overall height. This is similar to how my Lucky Dave's Lucky 13 were. but just a little bit lower. And then we have our DynoJet Power Vision mounted on here that we use as an additional gauge. So there's our system, our gauge system's on there, and it may be difficult to see as this boots up, but this has, what we like to do is our speedo, our battery level, gear indicator, and then the engine temperature and the overall vehicle speed. And just something that I'll have there, I'll take a look at here and there. This switch here that we have on our dash is gonna be for our crash bar lights. That way we just have additional lights if we don't want to run them at night, because sometimes people say they're too bright, they're too blinding. As we wind up near the end of this video, we're going to be moving on towards the center of the motorcycle, where we have a set Performance Machine True Mids. For the cost of what they are, I felt like they were a little bit lacking, but again, it's very nice that they do offer this setup. And these are about $1,400. It does not include the Footpeg here. And we have here on this side is going to be a set of Twisted Tea Industries MK1 Footpegs. And for our shifter knob, we have a shifter knob from Elite Touring Innovations. For our primary, we have a window derby cover from Trask Performance. It is really cool to be able to see the oil, to see your primary moving around. Tailoring up the end of the bike, we have a chain drive that we added about 5,000 to 8,000 miles. And we've been running for about 40,000 miles and no issues, no major issues since. We are running a Lindell B52 rear sprocket. That the carrier itself sees failure, what they say is area for replacement at about 10,000 to 12,000 miles. So you're gonna have to replace the whole system. The sprocket itself we replaced at about, I think it was 5,000 to 7,000 miles after use. But prior to that, we ran the Drag Specialties steel sprocket. And the main reason for the wear and tear so much faster with the Lindell setup is because it is aluminum on a metal chain. And so that's gonna wear out even more. We do run bags more often than not. That this is gonna be the setup from Elite Touring Innovations. This is gonna be their touring platform. It is nice because it comes with the quick release hardware included. So that way, if you do wanna remove it, go ahead and remove it or attach it. It does work with Harley-Davidson quick release hardware, but that the Harley-Davidson quick release hardware does not work with their stuff, but vice versa, it does. Here's going to be the Performance Caser touring brackets that you can pair with whatever set of hard bags you want, and you can fit them on there, which is very nice. We run the Pelicans for our side bags. We normally run the Pelican 1485. Up here is going to be the Pelican 1525, which is a nice trunk bag, simply because you can have some camera equipment is what we mainly use it for. We have our drone in there currently, but you have the added protection of it being a harder case. So in the event that you take a spill, or if someone wants to try to get into it, you can add some locks here. It adds some security to it that you have a little bit more peace of mind. For our rotors, both front and rear, the rear is going to be an 11.5 inch crown cut rotor from Lindell Brakes. The rear is going to be identical to the front at 17 inch. They're both V-Star wheels. And they're going to be in the rear is the OEM width that came with our Lowrider. So the OEM spacers worked. So it was just extremely plug and play, and that was really cool. As you stated, the front was a little bit more of a hands-on procedure. The brake pads that we were running, the rear are going to be the Lindell Brakes gold pads. We ran their synthetic, which I think is their Z+. We weren't really a fan of it. The benefit of running the Z+ is that you get to keep the color of your rotor. So if you're running gold, you'll be getting the gold. You will get some dust off of them, and so your gold may turn a little bit brown, but you can go in, you can rub that off with a rubber eraser. And then here in the center of our motorcycle, the meat and potatoes, the heart of it, we are also running a saddle and step-up seat. We got this when we got the motorcycle. A lot of people say, hey, where'd you get those tent grips at, man? I really like them. Does Harley make them? These are off of MT09. We picked them up off Amazon. You can clean it up and remove some of the adhesive part that's left over. We just leave it because there's more function over form. And they're really nice when you're at the track, or even just then if you're just hopping your bike on little jumps. They're really nice just to kind of grip the tank so your butt doesn't lift so much off of the seat. The adhesive, it comes up every now and then, but we just kind of just depress it again and it stick on there. As we stated earlier, we are running the Twisted Tea Industries MK1 Footpeg. We've enjoyed them. The ones that we picked up have an additional adapter where you can maneuver your MK1 Footpegs in any which direction, 360 degrees, up to 1 inch. For this one, we can only basically move them up, forward, or slightly down, because outside that with the True Mids, they run into clearance issues. So here is the True Mids talking based on them again. It did not come with a brake pedal, which is kind of a downside. This is our OEM shifter that we ended up piecing onto this together. Now, the reason I say that I feel that they're a little bit underdeveloped is because as it sits now on the soft tails, my brake lever for the rear brake, I feel is a little bit too flush and doesn't give me a proper purchase to where I feel that the rear brake is lacking, which is a major downside. That they come with a standard brake, it comes with a standard brake bone, but I wish it was just a little bit shorter because then it would be able to allow me to lift my brake lever up somewhat to give you a more proper purchase. I messaged them, they said, sorry, we can't send you an additional piece. You're just gonna have to sell it all as a whole set, which is kind of a bummer because at some point I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down, add a little bit more thread, and it's gonna allow me the ability to lift this up. But we're also gonna have to add an additional bend or reduce that bend here because of how close it sits to the cam plate cover. And then there is our $1,400 True Mids being held on by about 45 cents of zip ties that within the first ride of having it, that bolt rattled loose. It has a locking nut on the back with the bolt that goes through there, but whenever we had it flush and proper, our rear brake would stick. So then we unthreaded it a little bit and it perked and it was able to work just fine. So we went on the inaugural ride, and when we did, we went to the dealership just down the way about 5-6 miles. We realized that that bolt had come on, and so those zip ties have been on there ever since. And talking about the cam cover as well as our air cleaner, both of those are windowed pieces from Trash Performance. And in there we can see our cam plate and the wheel. And then here we also have an air cleaner cover from Purpose Built Motorcycles that says ride it, break it, rebuild it. The overall air cleaner is from Trash Performance. We have the stock cover on it. For the motor itself, any upgrades that we have to it have yet to be done. It's still a stock motor. We're still running the stock cam, stock lifters, stock everything. It's a 107. So there you have it. That's gonna be our 2019 Harley-Davidson FXR Lowrider. What do you like most about it? What catches your eye? Is it the front end setup or is it the 17-inch wheels with street bike tire combo? Overall, I've enjoyed what we have with it. It has been a pretty wicked journey, expensive as well, but it has all been worth it. I'd appreciate if you hit that like button. If you enjoyed the content, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, appreciate y'all. Cheers, adios.